Stranger Things. That's right. It's coming to an end, and season 5 for me has been a disaster. I really, really love season 1. I thought season 4 was a fantastic way to sort of tie everything in because season 2 and 3 had kind of fallen off quite a bit, but they pulled together in such a fantastic way. And I kind of, a lot of ways, kind of wish it just ended with season 4, maybe had a little bit of a different post Vecna falling kind of thing instead of having another catastrophe to set up another season. But I think people have already been complaining about season 5 kind of for different reasons than I am. So that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Go online right now and you're going to see a ton of stuff about, Will coming out. And since this is a getting review bombed, well, trust me, it's getting review bombed because it wasn't very good. I don't know that it has to do with that scene, even though that scene is extremely cringy. But before I get too further into the weeds, let me go back and say season 5 is riddled with way too many characters and way too much like useless, wasted, trivial dialogue, just random people finishing each other's sentences, little side quests. There's just too many people to have anything like there's no structure. Like it's just chaos. Just what do we do with these two characters? They haven't been on screen. It's just there's just so much going on, and we don't care about most of it. Like if you're a fan of the show from the get, yes, you may have a couple of characters that you've enjoyed at times, right? But the show is now even taking characters that you like Joyce and Hopper have kind of been on the shelf. What have they done that's really relevant? I mean, they've kind of had the crawl episodes with Hopper, and Joyce has emotional moments with Will, but for the most part, neither have done much. But we've had so much screen time given to Holly. That's right. The little sister is suddenly become a big deal in this final season, right? Robin, the other girl character in all of this, and again, this is why there is an alphabet pushback because so much focus has been on Robin and Will in season 5. We've moved away from Elle and Mike. That is, I mean, what we've had. I doubt there's been 5 minutes total of them on screen together as far as like the couple part, the relationship part. Elle, what are my issues with Elle? Let's talk about that for a second.
Reset it.
All right, let me say with Elle, when we first get introduced to her in season 5, and she was like training, and she's got her smarmy, nasty attitude about I'm faster and you don't trust me, and then her and Hopper end up, in the Upside Down together, fighting side by side. The problem is even when we fast forward to now, she's still kind of like got witch girl syndrome. Like she's just not a pleasant person to be around and remotely root for. And they brought in 8, the other little girl is sister. Like
If you live, this never stops.
she runs around with just this, I mean, god awful evil vibe. I assume that's all going to be bait and switch. I'll get to some of my theories of how the finale will wrap. By the time you're watching this, you may have already seen the finale, but I think that this has been tragic. Like she really was so heroic multiple times. Everyone wants to root for her to win. And now I'm very indifferent about what's even going on, who's important and not important. And that's all before we get to the Will thing.
And let him come for me.
So the biggest thing with the Will thing is kind of like, if you ever watch like pure flicks or like hardcore faith-based movies where the movie will stop for a moment and someone will give an altar call or do a salvation call. It's kind of a problem with like the Kendrick brother movies and some of the pure flick movies where it can be a really good movie with that as a caveat and a problem with it. Like not all of them are like this. Like the Erwin brothers don't do that. There's many others that don't do that. But I feel like this was extremely pro alphabet stuff. And it's been working its way along for a couple seasons. And then in season 5, the Duffer Brothers feel like we need to actually have a moment. And this weird 1980s version of it coming out feels like 2025. That's why it doesn't work. It's not that we don't like Will. And first off, everyone's so dramatic about him being gay whenever everyone has known. Like it's so transparent to the audience. So now you're just messing with the audience. You don't care about the audience. Now it's just messaging. And I think that's why everybody's so upset about it. For me, my bigger issue with Will kind of has to do with like the random power that came out of nowhere. Like suddenly he's got Vecna's power and he's breaking. Look, where was all this 2 or 3 seasons ago? What changed so much in the last, few episodes into season 4? Whatever. What changed so much that made Will manifest these powers that make it work like that? I guess I missed it in a way. I just don't care enough. And now it's distracting because now it's like, well, is it going to be Will? Is it going to be L? Is it 8? Is it going to be? And I don't know that I really care too much. I think Vecna it's just, there's so many layers. His design, his, new evil version design, because he's like a telekinetic Groot who looks like Ultron. They changed his look, his CGI look. Some of the CGIs, the demodogs, whatever, that attack in the hospital laundry scene, which by the way, we have to get to girl boss stuff there. The CGI is not so great. They definitely have dropped the ball a few times, and that was not the case in the early seasons for sure. Definitely not season 1. I mentioned girl boss thing. So Mrs. Wheeler is got her throat and her body cut open, and then suddenly staggers down to the stairs to magically find a way to put the oxygen tanks in the dryer in time. The dogs didn't see her do this. It just happened to work out, and then only blow them up, not hurt the kids that are there trapped. But poor Mr. Wheeler is still in a coma upstairs? Like, dude went at the thing with a golf club. So, I look, Mrs. Wheeler doesn't matter. Can she just stay in the coma or stay in her, like, we have so many characters, and then it's got, Erica and Murray are sent out on a mission to kind of figure out how to track Dustin. So forget about all the main characters. We're using all these other secondary characters. We drag in the teacher, right? Mr. Clark. And by the way, the only really fun joke in the second half of 5 was the joke about the librarian, the she shush you kind of thing. Like, there's some jokes that work. There are moments that work. I just don't care about the teacher. I care about my core group of people that got me here. I care about their relationships and things like that. I mean, there's so many things. Like, Lucas has basically been relegated as sort of like kind of an irrelevant boyfriend for Max. And every now and again, he'll just say something random. And then, Jonathan has his randomness, and Steve will say his randomness, and they'll talk over each other and finish other sentences. And someone will have an epiphany, and that's the new plan. I don't know. And then you have like the goo scene. Now, for me, the goo scene makes no sense. I still don't totally understand why we have the goo, what's going on with the goo, how the goo hurt everyone else previously, like all these soldiers or whomever. But there's Jonathan and Nancy completely fine. And they're not like, doesn't he grab the doorknob? But this stuff's melting, but he's not getting hurt. I really felt there could be a chance that one of them could perish. That didn't happen. There's been no stakes. No one dies. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect for a finale, but I don't know how you save it. You've made it so complicated with stuff that I just don't care anymore. So we head into the finale. We head into a series finale. Now the upside down is not the upside down. It's a bridge. There's a wormhole. There's exotic matter. There's the abyss. There's theory and science and gobbledygook and blah, 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 blah. I've said all along that season 4 probably worked because COVID gave them more time to write it and make it work. They needed more time. And they're writing these, 8-hour, 12-hour movies, not like a TV show. Like, it's not typical traditional episodic TV anymore. They're writing these long movies. But the problem is they're not going back to the well with enough time, and they don't have a plan. The reality was season 4 kind of ended. Like, she beat Vecna, but then you had this explosion at the end, and now the village, and there's no one's acting like any of that matters. Oh, they poured concrete over it in the military. We don't have no idea how any of this is framed by the rest of the world, while the country itself, why every adult appears to be completely okay that all this is happening. And by the way, this is one of the most retarded elements of Robin's little girlfriend. There's all this stuff going on. So it's hard to take in. And she's like, you're on drugs. Oh my God, she's on drugs. It was such a stupid thing. Like, you haven't paid any attention to the fact that the world split open. You were working in like a donation clinic there, or like a Salvation Army Red Cross type thing to help people. And you're oblivious to the fact that like she's treated as though she's a crazy person. The writing is just absolutely god awful. So forget about Will and the sexuality thing. Nobody cares. It was cringy, and it was done because it didn't feel like 1980. What are we supposed to be in 85? It felt like 2025, right? There's tons of continuity errors and things like that. I think there's one scene with Holly, I believe, where you can see like the Under Armour logo on her undershirt. They're just making mistakes that they don't need to make. They made this so complicated that they didn't need to make it complicated. Like we were already invested in Elle, we were invested in the battle, we were invested, and they've put it all on the shelf for all these random characters. And now we have just way too much going on. So it is also not the worst show in the world, as bad as season 5 is. Isn't it sad that this is still more watchable than most things on TV, most streaming shows? Like it's just, we are in such a bad era that as bad as all of this is and how it's fallen so far from season 1, and I went back and watched a lot of the first 4 seasons. I didn't watch every single part. I kind of would fast forward. You on Netflix, you can change it to, speed up. But, and there is a drop off, 1 to 2, 3 is kind of like a slight drop off. And then 4, like, goes back up. Now, maybe not to the level of 1, but it kind of fixes everything. And 5 just has felt so tedious and drawn out. And yet at the same time, not god awful, like just very midland and unnecessarily complicated. And wordsmithy, word salad, just, I feel like it's the Wachowskis with Matrix. Like it felt like they did something great and then everybody wants more. They didn't really have that plan. They don't know what to do. And by the time you understood what they came up with, you're like, this is terrible and retarded and contradictory. It's exactly how I feel. I'm going to liken it to the Matrix, at least at this point. So headed into the finale, that is my take. I'd love to hear from you guys. And thanks for watching, everybody. I am Pops.